Hey over there, Joe Lunchbox.
And Joy Nightingale.
And today we have landed right here in Baraboo, Wisconsin. Now, in case you don't know, mine and Joy's history, we go back, we're sideshow performers, so we have a strong love of circus and sideshow. In fact, you could say we hang out with some interesting people. A bunch of our friends make livings being clowns. So the reason we are in Baraboo, Wisconsin today is to learn about clowns at the International Clown Hall of Fame. That's right, there is a museum here in Baraboo, Wisconsin. You might be wondering, why in Baraboo? Some people say this is the home of circus. Standing down the road, we'll show you in a second, from the Al Ringling Theater. This was a spot that the Ringlings grew up. A lot of early circus came here. A lot of other circuses passed through this area. It's a hotbed for circus activity. So where better than to have a Clown Hall of Fame, an International Clown Hall of Fame. So we're gonna go inside, we're gonna bring you along. Hopefully you like this kind of thing. If you do, we always appreciate if you like the video. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, subscribe, ring the bell, comment down below. Also so appreciated, much love. But it's time to do this. Step right up, let's go for this ride. We are standing on the corner of Oak Avenue and 4th Avenue. But if we look down 4th, we could see the Al Ringling Theater. In this nondescript building at 102 4th, we see a sign for the International Clown Hall of Fame and Research Center. One of my favorites is the Tramp, which would be like the hobo-ish style clown. So we're gonna learn all about clowns, learn about famous clowns, see some clown memorabilia on the inside. Oh, there it is. International Clown Hall of Fame. Tours today. We just got a ring bell to get started.
Oh, we know.
Yes, we do know. It's Grandma from the Big Apple Circus.
It didn't start here in Baraboo. It started in Delavan, Wisconsin, which is near Milwaukee. And it was there for maybe 15, 16 years. And then it went to Milwaukee itself. And then eventually it found its home, forever home, here in Baraboo 14 years ago. So I don't know if you've noticed about Baraboo, it's kind of circus-centric. So it's really a good fit here. So,
Yeah.
So yeah.
Where do you clown? Or where did you clown?
Well, I've been a clown my whole life. They've been paying me for 40 years. I went to the Ringling Brothers in Barnabelly Clown College, and then I toured with the Ringling Brothers Circus for 10 years, and then worked on other circuses all over the world, all over the country. Went to Europe and worked in China and Asia and Canada, Mexico, and Finland, Sweden, pretty much everywhere. And I was one of the clowns at Circus World Museum for about 8 years. Let's see. I'll get this out of the way. That is me as a clown. That's it.
That's cool.
Very cool.
They started doing inductions in 1989. We just inducted 4 more last year for upwards to 20 years, a minimum of 20 years. Most of them are much longer than that. They have to have the respect of their peers in the professional clown community, and they have to have left kind of like a lasting impact on audiences, whether it's international or in the United States or international. So it was here when I got here.
And I'm assuming originally the mouth went up and down, it looks like.
Actually, yeah. When it was in storage, so we got it, and it still had the motor in it, and we kind of hotwired it just to see if it really actually worked. And the eyes roll like they make
spin, like
eyes, and the mouth would go, and there was a. And I'm like, maybe that's not the first thing they should see.
Looking at some trunks.
Oh yeah.
So who was Frosty?
Frosty was a Ringling Brothers clown, one of the 4, what they called master clowns. That Ringling designated as a master clown. So there were 4 in their entire years: Lou Jacobs, Otto Griebling, Frosty Little, and another clown, Bobby Kay.
It's a great photo.
And goose eggs.
Goose eggs.
And that's sort of it started in England after the war, or World War II. And it was sort of unofficial way for clowns to register their makeup.
So they would store the goose eggs so everyone couldn't copy.
And so it's it was just sort of a way to remember what you look like. For historical purposes.
I'm guessing 3 types of clowns right
here?
here?
All the clowns in the world are one of these 3 types. The whiteface, the Augusta, the character, Seinfeld, George Kramer, SpongeBob, Patrick, Squidward, Bert and Ernie. It kind of applies to almost everything in
the dynamic between the two.
Yeah, like the whiteface is the boss, the Augusta is kind of the dumber clown, and the character can be pretty wild. So, and a lot of in the United States, these 2 came out of Europe. That one was actually developed here, and most of the time we refer to them as tramp clowns or hobos. Because they came out of the Great Depression. They use character now. But most of the great tramp clowns were like Kelly and Red Skelton.
Jelly Boy would be a whiteface.
The boss?
Yeah. Oh, he's the boss.
Oh, yeah.
He's the one throwing pies, not taking pies. So how far back could clowning be traced?
Oh gosh, I think the first caveman that dropped a rock on another caveman's foot. Everybody went, oh, that's that part. But I think it really goes back to the Egyptians and things like that. I mean, there's a little bit of history behind you there on it, but almost every culture has a clown persona or something that would represent the clown. Native Americans have Kachina, which is their version of a clown. China, Asia has Peking opera. England has jesters. Well, perfect story. Great grandchildren of this clown Tad Tosky. He said, I don't know if you know who my great-grandfather was. I'm like, yeah, sure, he's kind of famous in the Ringley show in the early days. He goes, well, we're downsizing our house and we're going to move to a condo and we've got this thing in the attic. And they're like, we don't know if we really want that. Our kids don't want it. And I'm like, oh. And so they brought it and they donated it to us. And it's this pinhead, it's the original prop, and it was made in 1931.
Whose makeup trunk is this one?
This belonged to Dwayne Thorpe. So he was a Ringling clown, one of the few clowns that only worked on Ringling 40 years. And it just was he was inducted, and his niece and sister donated whatever they had of him, and he was never married, didn't have children, so it's his family inherited all this stuff.
I love seeing how the wigs and costume could change, but the makeup stays the same.
Yeah, especially the Ringling clowns, and especially in the 30s, 40s, 50s, even the 60s, they were very big makeups because they had to be seen from a distance.
Is there any rules to making the clown makeup, like patterning?
The first thing is you don't want to copy another clown's face. So that's probably the biggest rule is when you're designing a face. And a lot of it is when we were at clown college, the first couple of days, we actually didn't even put on makeup. We just sat in front of a mirror and made faces. We look happy, we look sad, we look confused, we look angry. And they want you to study how your face moves and works, like the muscles in your eyebrows and cheeks and things, so that when you start putting on makeup, you want to bring the makeup to the points in your face that'll animate it, as opposed to painting on a big jack-o'-lantern smile. You don't get your face right away. I've been doing it for 40 years, so my face is basically the same.
Yeah.
So, and it evolves. That's me up there, not the red vest, the guy behind him. So, it's a little different than that. That was when I was on Big Apple and stuff. So it's kind of a different. They didn't want wigs; they just wanted more of a natural thing. So it's oh no, you're paying me.
Has anyone gone through clown college that never might have made it as a clown, but has made it mainstream? Besides Steve-O? Or on top of Steve-O, I mean?
Bill Irwin.
Okay.
He was a student. He's obviously known as a clown, but he also does Broadway and things like that. David Strathairn, the actor who did a lot of movies, he was in he was a clown there. Okay. Penn and Teller.
Okay. Who's this clown? I remember seeing them perform when I was a kid.
Oh, sure. Jimmy Graham. He was at Ringling with me many years.
I just always remember the nose.
Yep, they're very unique because most clowns have a red nose.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, I'm going to do checkerboard. His whole thing was checkerboard. So his costume, his shoes, obviously, and then he went with the checkerboard nose.
Where did the idea of not just painting the nose, but the rubber nose come from?
Kind of came from the Fratellini family over there at Cirque du Verre in Paris. Albert, the one on the bottom, he was probably the first one to use the big bulbous kind of, it wasn't rubber back then. I think it was more of a putty or maybe even like a paper mache kind of a composite, because rubber wasn't really prevalent. And then, and again, it just, because he needed to exaggerate his nose because his makeup was so big. And
Yeah.
You can't just paint a little,
Little nose.
So they're like, oh, you just need to get a big nose. And then it just, again, helped with the vision to be seeing it from a distance.
We have the stilts of Harry Nelson. I love the socks that were on the stilts in the photo. And the museum is broken up to styles and also clowns that have been inducted in. When you talk about crazy clown cars, that is a tiny car. Everyone knows Emmett Kelly looking like a hobo. Early tramp clown, now carriage clown. Some cool ads. You talk about someone that went mainstream. It's funny how when you start seeing the same clown over and over, you start to memorize the makeup. You could recognize who it is. This was my mom's favorite. She always told me as I was a little kid about Red Skelton. Inducted in 1989.
You know, he was an inductee, and his father was a clown before him, Jack Leclerc. And in the 1920s, he created what we call a walk around. It's like a sight gag that travels with, you know, like you're doing it while they're setting up a net or something to kind of distract the audience. And so he used a comic book character, comic strip of the day called Barney Google, which was in the 20s, and it had Barney Google, and he had this little horse called Sparkplug, and so he created this little thing, and he used to wear it around your waist, and then this other clown would throw the cape, and kind of you turned around really quick, so it looked like a magic trick almost, but it would be like today. If you did a walk around like a SpongeBob or something, the kids would go, "Oh yeah, it's SpongeBob." So the kids then go, "Oh, that's Sparkplug." They knew him. So, but that's the original prop from the 20s.
I love these props, like the big bomb and anvil.
The bomb, the clowns who donated that, they actually mailed it to us. Got a call from the Baraboo post office going, "We have a package here and it's been flagged. You have to come and open it before we can deliver it." So I go to the post office and I cut it open and pull that thing out, and they're like, "That is exactly what we thought was going to be in there." And they're like, "You just wanted to see it." They're like, "I know we did."
Anything specific about these paper mache masks?
They were made by Paul Jung, that clown there, and they were used in the movie The Greatest Show on Earth.
Okay.
In 1950, which won the Academy Award for Best Picture of that year. And it was filmed on Ringling Brothers Circus, so it's dramatically it's kind of not a great movie, but it did like Jimmy Stewart and Charlton Heston, and it was like of the day, it was very big people in it. And the other guy I think is it's either Snap, Crackle, or Pop. One of those three Rice Krispie.
Okay. Joy, I found something I need. A hair growing machine. Joy, we have to get a bike like that. So I could lay on a bed of nails and you could ride over me. Like an Evel Knievel stunt.
And the foam props, back in the older days, they were built around puns a lot of times. Mm-hmm. So we'll give you a little test here. What's that?
It's a football.
Very good.
Chainsaw?
I didn't say they were good.
I think it's great.
That's a good one. Handgun.
You guys are good. This one's a little harder. Now they get a little harder.
Holy mackerel.
Very good. That's the key.
It's whole milk. But Joey, did you know 2 + 2 = 7?
Of course. Because it doesn't equal 5. You
No.
can't have it because it's not going to equal 5.
I love
silly.
the giant pliers with the big tooth. Oh,
Yeah.
so some good stuff. Ooh, can you tell us about slapsticks?
Slapsticks are, most people that you ask about a slapstick, they say it's a type of comedy, but it really came from it's an actual prop. So I'll show you. It's two pieces of wood, with a handle and a stopper in the middle, and so again it exaggerates. You can see it from a distance, and then when you make contact, it makes a really loud noise, but doesn't hurt. So hence the slapstick.
And it's cool that a whole comedy name came from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of them even, I think I have it out here, but there's some that you can actually put like a 30. Oh, this kind of one. It's like this, the big hammer, sort of like a slapstick. So they would put a 32 blank in there. Blank. That's the key thing. And this very, very finely machined screw would put on the firing pin, and then they would just put this down very gently. And then they would swing it, and you hit you in the butt, and the bang comes out there. So, wait for it, whereas
Bobby K,
everything else, 15.
another clown that performed for England Plus, but we have some magic tricks here. Linking rings tricks. I'm guess Bobby K mixed a little magic in with the routines.
Yeah, that was his kind of forte, was magic. Yeah. So,
I see some linking rings, some other tricks here.
yeah, that was his thing. So,
And whose eye binoculars? Great gag.
they belong to the Sherman brothers, which are the two costumes of it, the red costumes.
plaid and-
Yeah, that was one of their routines. Was the binoculars with the eyeballs.
I also like the giant Zippo, but that's actually a real giant Zippo. I could say. I was looking at the little itty bitty car. What is it, like a lawnmower engine, probably?
Yeah, it's a battery actually.
Just
So he was ahead of his time, Bobo, and I think it's coming right there on the screen now. That's this car, and he was on the Ed Sullivan Show, and so he would do a comedy dog act. So his car would enter the ring, and Bobo was 6'2", and he weighed about 230. So that's his original costume. That's the costume he's wearing when he comes out. And since he did a dog act, after he came out, in that car with him were 6 dogs, a skunk, a suitcase, and a trumpet. Were all in there with him.
it's a tiny spot.
Yeah.
Would Emmett Kelly be one of the first clowns that crossed over to like mainstream culture?
Very much so, I think. Emmett was a very smart businessman, which clowns are not known to be. And he was one of the first that really got into like merch. And he was always insistent that his name appear on it. So, whether it was games or puppets or decanters or coloring books, makeup kits, they always had to make sure it was Emmett Kelly, or Weary Willie was the clown name. But he did that only when he was doing merchandise. So, he left the circus in 1956, Ringling. And then really he kind of went to Las Vegas and worked with Red Skelton as his opening act, and then did fairs, and he did TV shows. He was like Carol Burnett show. He was on.
And did Red Skelton work for the circus before he did this, or?
He did. His father was a circus clown on the Hageback Wallace Circus, this circus here. And he died before Red was born. But when Red was about 16 years old, the Hageback Wallace Circus came through Vincennes, Indiana, which is where Red was. That's his hometown. And it was in the summer, so he ran away and joined that circus as a clown for a couple months.
Then everyone knows a bozo.
Oh no, he's the fourth type of clown. You got your white face, you got your Auguste, and you got your character. Then you got Bozo. He's with the rich clown. They're very rich. And Bozo, unlike most clowns that are, your clown character is really unique to you because it's part of your personality. Bozo is kind of a franchised, like, marketing thing. So in the 50s and 60s, even 70s, and into the early 80s, almost every major market in the United States, like television market, had a Bozo show. So it was kind of a franchise thing. And then WGN in Chicago was the big station there, and they ended up going the Superstation, like syndicated. Mm-hmm. So then everybody could just go watch Bozo on that show. So it was the longest running Bozo show, and then kind of went away, and then
now it's coming back.
David Arquette bought it.
Yeah.
And so he's trying to return this to some kind of prominence.
Did it start as an individual, then start going, or was it made by studios or like
It was made by Capitol Records. It was these records were the first things that the children's records. So they would, and they. I think this one has it in it. This one does, I think. Back then, you could, you would read the record, and it would you'd put it on, and it'd say, okay, page one, and then
Like a
Bozo
little
would do, and you
storytelling.
followed it. Turn the page, and then you'd go to the next page, and whatever. So that's how they kind of worked. So it was created as a character, like a cartoon for records. And then they wanted to promote the record, so they said, we got to hire somebody to look like that and go to record things and get it promoted. So they chose a guy named Pinto Calvig, who was the voice of Bozo. He did the records. He also was a circus clown. And by the time they got him, he was not performing in the circus anymore, but he worked for Walt Disney. And he is the original voice of Goofy. Eventually, in like the mid-'50s, they sold it to this Larry Harmon, who was the company that bought it. And then he syndicated it. He's the one who took it and went like, I'm going to make it, like, I'm going to have a Bozo University. 60s, 70s, that you probably was one of the first clowns you ever saw with Bozo.
the spring rabbit.
Yeah.
So many little things. Just beautiful gags. I like showing how he carved it out of the foam.
Yep. Yeah, Mark was in addition to being a great clown, he was an amazing prop builder, and so he would take, foam rubber, and he did this in the '60s because foam rubber started becoming available, more prevalent. Prior to that, most props were like those heads, paper mache or something. So he would sit there at his trunk, and we'd just watch him with a razor blade and his little scissors, and you're like, how do you do that? Because you'd see it, the shape would start to, and you're like. Because you cut away everything that's not a rabbit. And then he would color them, and then he would use these props when he would go to a school show or a hospital, children's hospital, and he would tell stories using the props. And what was unique is he was able to carve another figure on the inside. That's a tortoise. I can't turn it inside out.
Yeah, because it was.
But he would tell the story of the tortoise. And then he
The
would flip
tortoise
it
and the
in
hair.
Yeah, so that was kind of, most clown props today are foam rubber, and that is due to him.
That is crazy.
And that's Mark Anthony.
That is Mark Anthony. And he was kind of a whimsy, like a lot of tramp clowns are sad faced, like Emmett Kelly, but he was always very smiling, and he painted his tongue sticking out of his mouth. He put a plastic fly on his nose. So.
And is this dog in the fire hydrant a puppet?
It is. It was one of the walk-arounds, like I mentioned before. So the clown was dressed like a fireman. Mm-hmm. And so he had and he would walk around holding the fire plug, but actually it was a fake arm. So it was attached to the fire plug. And so his hand was inside of it, and then he'd walk, and then the top would flip up, and then the Dalmatian would come out and lick his face. And so it was...
And with the clown shoes, was there a company that made clown shoes, or were they?
There were, back in the day, there was a company called Griffin Shoes that most of the older clowns used until they were retired. And there's about 4 clown cobblers still around in the United States. There's a lot of them in Europe still, but in the United States, there's about 4 guys that will do nothing but make clown shoes. But, they can make them any shape or size. And when the shoe is made, the inside of the shoe is stuffed with horsehair. That's what gives it the shape. You can have chicken feet if you want. That's your thing. You can come up with it, and they can build it. They'll make it. So, But Happy Kelms, he used these in vaudeville. So these shoes were pretty crazy. And these were done different because he wasn't really he was a circus clown eventually, but they're really just made off of a man's shoe, and then they added this part to it.
See in the picture?
Yeah, and see the clown, and then
Yeah,
see.
and there's the outfit next to
This
it.
clown commented. They were just inducted last year, and they were on the circus long enough to start a family. So that's their daughter Amelia's little trunk, and so she traveled in the show with them for a while.
That is
Oh, that's so
weird.
So her
cute.
mom had a one-man band, and so she would walk up and down the track, the hippodrome track, and their daughter would wear that costume and have little symbols. We call that an awe act, because no matter what you're doing, everyone's going, oh, look at that. You didn't really have to do much. You're like, oh, that's risky making a little kid's clown shoes because kids' feet grow like every month. It seems like so.
Well, then you have to have that. You could take out the horsehair part.
Yeah, I think that's what they did. But I mean, it was given them as a gift, so
Yeah.
she grew into them, and then by the time she actually outgrew them, they were.
But it is cute seeing mommy and daddy's shoes on the right and the daughter's shoes on the left.
Yeah.
So,
Who else do we have?
Yeah.
Oh, it's other clown stuff. Some of it like complete collections of other clowns, and then we have a lot of just individual things. Like we would get a scrapbook from a clown's family, or they were in a nursing home and they passed away, and then actually we get calls from like the directors of nursing homes going, he was a midget, he died, he was here for 15 years, but he left, he has no family, and so we just we rotate things, like as you said, it just depends on, I mean, certain things like the little car people like to see, and we keep that all the time. Bozo went up last summer, so, and people were asking for it because it was hard to get a Bozo costume.
Okay.
Because they don't want to give it up, so it's like I had to find it, wait for a Bozo to pass. Donald, we have enough stuff to do Ronald, like an exhibit on
Yeah.
but McDonald's won't let us because they're like, because it's various, how the character evolved. Like we have costumes from the 70s, from the 80s, and the modern one. So they're like, no, Ronald only looks like this. I'm like, well, in the 70s he looked like
Oh
this.
yeah,
He
he's
looked like that. They go, yeah, but we don't. That's not gonna show. They don't want to. They want people to brand. I said.
So there you have it, the International Clown Hall of Fame. Hopefully you all liked it. We always feel clowns are friends, nothing to be scared about. It was personally a good time going there because us coming from circus sideshow world, talking to a performer that was a clown, and all circuses that we've gone to, we had a lot of common friends and were able to share a lot of stories. Not all of them made the video, but we had a great day. Hopefully you enjoyed it. We always are glad when you come along with us. I think we could call it
I think so.
International Clown Hall of Fame. Been there, done that. But before we go, if you are ever around Wisconsin, come check this place out. That was really cool. All right. Remember, folks, safe travels
Goodies.
and live life.
You actually, and there's a ramp that goes up. So those elephants actually have to walk that ramp. So it's pretty wild. And then they used to have to bring them over the bridge from the train would park in New Jersey, and they actually had to walk the elephants to the garden through the tunnel, Lincoln Tunnel.
Oh yeah.
And they had to pay a toll. They all had to pay a toll, which is great publicity. It's like, sure, and they always did it at night, so it wouldn't mess up traffic, but they were always like, the ringmaster would pay a toll for every elephant that came through.
That's great.